Karlee Perez is an American actress, model, professional wrestler and valet, best known for her appearances with the professional wrestling promotion WWE under the ring name Maxine between 2009 and 2012. She is currently working for Lucha Underground under the ring name Catrina. Early life: Perez was born in Tampa, Florida, and is of Spanish, Cuban, Italian, Hawaiian, Irish, English, and Chinese ancestry. She majored in criminology at college and worked in a state's attorney office upon graduating. Professional wrestling career World Wrestling Entertainment /WWE Florida Championship Wrestling. In 2009, Perez signed a contract with the professional wrestling promotion World Wrestling Entertainment. She was assigned to their then developmental territory Florida Championship Wrestling, where she made her debut later that year under the ring name The Candy Girl, in a Divas Handicap Tag Team match, where she teamed with Alicia Fox and Rosa Mendez to defeat Tiffany and Angela. Her name was later changed to Liviana, and she became the manager of Sweet Papi Sanchez. She competed in an 8-diva tournament to determine the inaugural FCW Divas champion, but was eliminated by Naomi Knight in the first round. On the August 27, 2010 episode of FCW TV, she teamed up with AJ Lee to defeat the team of Naomi Knight and Xana. After returning under the name Maxine, she became the acting general manager of FCW, and formed a villainous group with Xana, Lucky Cannon and Damian Sando. On the July 19, 2011 episode of FCW TV, Maxine was defeated by Miss Florida, who later revealed as Naomi Knight. On the October 17 episode of FCW TV, Maxine defeated Catrina. On an episode of FCW TV, Maxine defeated Xana after an inference from Xana's husband, Goldust. On an episode of FCW Television, after Naomi lost to Xana in an FCW Divas Championship match, Maxine attacked Naomi, but was stopped when AJ Lee came to Naomi's aid. On the February 17 episode of FCW TV, Maxine competed against Catrina in a winning effort. On the March 10 episode of FCW TV, Maxine teamed up with Xana to defeat Naomi and Sonya. On the March 16 episode of FCW TV, Maxine teamed up with Xana in a losing effort to AJ and Naomi. On the April 7 episode of FCW TV, Maxine interfered in an FCW Divas Championship match between AJ Lee and Xana, helping Xana defeat AJ to win the championship. On the March 11, 2012 episode of FCW TV, Maxine was fired from the position of the acting general manager, and was later replaced with Summer Rae. Nxt Season 3, on the August 31 episode of NXT, it was announced that she would be part of the all-female third season of NXT under the name Maxine, with Alicia Fox as her pro. On the September 7 episode of NXT, she competed in a dance competition, and a Capture the Flag contest unsuccessfully, and also teamed with her mentor Alicia Fox to face fellow rookie diva Naomi and her pro Kelly in a losing effort. On the September 21 episode of NXT, Maxine competed in singles competition against AJ in a losing effort, and later that night she failed to win the Talk the Talk challenge. On October 5 episode of NXT, Maxine lost to Xana, and unsuccessfully competed in a mechanical bull riding contest and a talent show contest after Hornswoggle shoved pie in her face. On October 12 episode of NXT, Maxine accompanied Alicia Fox to her match against Naomi, who was accompanied by her pro Kelly, in a winning effort, and Maxine unsuccessfully competed in a WWE Name That Tune contest and a Power of the Punch contest. The next week on NXT, Maxine won her first singles match by defeating Catrina, but unsuccessfully competed in WWE's Who's That Body, and the Limbo contest, although host Matt Striker incorrectly declared Naomi the winner without her successfully completing the round. Maxine failed. Her match with Catrina was voted the worst worked match of the year by readers of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. On the October 26 episode of NXT, Maxine lost a singles match to Naomi, and won a Halloween candy contest. On the November 2 episode of NXT, Maxine lost a kissing contest, and was later that night eliminated from competition. After her elimination, Maxine later made an appearance on the season finale of the season on November 30, 2010, where she teamed with Alicia Fox and Oksana in a loss to AJ and the Bella Twins. NXT Redemption. After a period of absence from WWE programming, Maxine began appearing on the fifth season of NXT, returning on the August 16, 2011 episode of NXT Redemption, and attacking AJ. She established herself as the on-screen girlfriend of Derek Bateman, and the pair feuded with AJ and Titus O'Neil, which resulted in Maxine and Bateman losing to AJ and O'Neil in a mixed tag team match on the September 6 episode of NXT Redemption. While trying to sow discord between AJ and her boyfriend Hornswoggle, Maxine would trade victories with AJ in a series of matches from August to October. On the October 26 episode of NXT Redemption, Bateman proposed to Maxine in the storyline, who accepted the proposal after slapping and kissing him. On the November 2 episode of NXT Redemption, Bateman and Maxine became known as Beta Max, and they participated in a six-person mixed tag team match along with JTG in a loss to AJ, O'Neil and Percy Watson. On the November 30 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine lost a match against her former Nxt Season 3 pro Alicia Fox, when she was accidentally distracted by Derek Bateman and his mother, and ended up leaving the arena with Johnny Curtis, told by JTG and Tamina. On the December 7 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine broke up with Derek Bateman in the storyline. On the December 28 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine would again turn on Bateman, thinking he was trying to ruin her career, and kissed Johnny Curtis and left with him. The next week on the January 4 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine and Curtis interrupted Bateman's match with Darren Young, causing him to lose by announcing that she and Curtis were getting married in Las Vegas. On the 100th episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine and Curtis' wedding ceremony was interrupted by Bateman, who was showing a security camera video clip in his locker room of Curtis stealing Bateman's iPad and sending an email to Theodore Long about getting rid of Maxine and going to SmackDown, and was later reunited with Bateman after she slapped Curtis. The following week on NXT Redemption, Curtis offered a truce with Maxine and Bateman, but Maxine gave Curtis a low blow. Maxine then began a feud with Caitlyn on the February 1 episode of NXT Redemption, with Maxine accusing Caitlyn of liking Derek Bateman. On the February 8 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine defeated Caitlyn in a match. She then attacked Caitlyn on the February 15 episode of NXT Redemption, thinking that Bateman bought Caitlyn chocolate for Valentine's Day. On the February 29 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine again attacked Caitlyn after she confessed her love for Bateman by kissing him, and went on to face Caitlyn in the main event unsuccessfully. On the March 7 episode of NXT Redemption, in a segment with Johnny Curtis and Derek Bateman, Maxine revealed to Bateman that they were no longer dating after Caitlyn kissed Bateman, leading to a mixed tag team match in which Maxine and Curtis lost to Caitlyn and Bateman on the March 14 episode of NXT Redemption, and Bateman would afterwards confess his love for Caitlyn and kissed her, thus solidifying their relationship. After William Regal was appointed as NXT's match coordinator, Maxine would attempt to get close to him in the hopes that he would help her get her out of NXT. On the March 21 episode of NXT Redemption, Maxine and Johnny Curtis knocked out Matt Striker with chloroform in the storyline, so that Maxine could join Regal on commentary where she proceeded to give Regal massages. However, Striker was then kidnapped by two masked figures, later revealed to be Kurt Hawkins and Tyler Rex, who intended to blackmail Maxine and Curtis into using her charms to get Regal to leave them alone. Matt Striker was then rescued by Bateman and Caitlyn on the April 11 episode of NXT Redemption. For being involved with Matt Striker's storyline kidnapping, on the March 18 episode of NXT Redemption, after Maxine defeated Caitlyn in singles competition, she and Johnny Curtis were forced by William Regal to sign a contract to permanently be each other's manager or be fired, and were afterwards handcuffed together. Maxine made her first appearance on the main roster on the May 7 episode of Raw, teaming with Natalya in a losing effort against Layla and Kelly. Maxine then transitioned into a fan favorite, and defeated Tamina Snuka on the May 9th episode of NXT Redemption, and was later released from being handcuffed to Johnny Curtis by Kurt Hawkins and Tyler Rex. On June 28, 2012, it was reported that Perez had quit WWE. The next day, Perez confirmed that she had asked for and was granted her release from the company to pursue other options, but commented that she was not going to join another wrestling company. Perez later commented that after sitting for a while, and the chance not really coming, she just decided to take it in her own hands and make a chance for herself, which is what she did. Total Nonstop Action Wrestling On May 10, 2014, Perez returned to professional wrestling at the Total Nonstop Action Wrestling pay-per-view event One Night Only, Knockouts Knockdown 2. Competing under her real name, Perez lost to Taryn Terrell. Lucha Underground In September 2014, Perez announced that she had been cast in El Rey Network's Lucha Underground. She made her first appearance with the promotion on the second episode of Lucha Underground on November 6, 2014, where she was introduced as Catrina, the girlfriend and valet of Mil Muertes. After the storyline with Mil Muertes came to an end, Catrina began managing Far Copyright Nxt on January 17, 2015. However, after Far Copyright Nxt defeated Mil Muertes, Catrina resurrected him, in the storyline. Catrina subsequently went on to manage Muertes and the Disciples of Death, and helped them win the Lucha Underground Trios Championship from Ivalis, Anger Copyright Lico and Son of Havoc at Ultima Lucha Part 1 on July 29. Other promotions Under her real name, Perez defeated Joey Ryan at a Beyond Wrestling event in Providence, Rhode Island on August 30, 2015. Acting career During her WWE career, Perez took acting lessons for 3.5 years. In June 2013, Perez joined the talent agency MPC Models and began auditioning for acting roles. Perez received her first role in August 2013, when she was cast in the web series The Cell. Filmography Film. Television. In wrestling. Finishing moves, double underhook sight out inverted atomic drop / bomb, dragon sleeper with bow tie scissors. Signature moves, big boot, chin lock, drop toe hold, as a counter to an oncoming opponent, guillotine choke, hair pull mat slam, hair pull snapmare. Managers, Alicia Fox. Wrestlers managed, Abraham Washington, Oksana, Alicia Fox, Damian Sando, Derek Bateman, Lucky Cannon, Mil Muertes, Sweet Papi Sanchez, Far Copyright Nxt, The Disciples of Death. References. External links. Official website, Karlee Perez on Twitter, Maxine's profile on WWE.com, Karlee Perez at the Internet Movie Database.